What's up, legalizers? It's me, cannabis industry lawyer Tom Howard, here to talk about maybe the hempire is striking back. It came out from Florida this month that might have something to do with what goes on with hemp. It may not. Let's dive into the main article. This might be what happens in hemp going forward, or, well, let's hang out and get into it and talk about where it may actually end up. Here's the article. Florida Governor DeSantis vetoes controversial hemp legislation and cited small business. Here's a transmittal letter. So on June 7th, DeSantis vetoed the hemp ban. Hopefully, what he is trying to do is get votes to suppress the legalization effort in Florida. And he hopes that if he allows the hemp business owners, which of course are selling the identical products to like what you can buy at Sunburn or Jungle Boys or Trulieve, he's vetoed it. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. It appears that's somewhat what's going on right here. Is this what's going to be happening in hemp? Are hemp bans going to be used to stifle legalization in different areas? Maybe, maybe not. We really have to see what happens on the federal level. And it's the most bizarre veto, non-veto. Like, he supports the regulation, but he thought it was too strict on the regulation. What he really might have to do with is politics. Now, the interesting thing on this is the next week came out this news article that he has a new political committee, a PAC, targeting two ballot initiatives that are both liberal in Florida. One's for abortion rights and one is to legalize it being marijuana. And so he has the Florida Freedom Fund. One of the rules of naming a political action committee is that it has to sound really, really optimistic and aspirational, but then it really has to not be anything like that, because it's for the Freedom Fund so that you can't access cannabis and you can't get an abortion. Freedom. He created this, and his political goals in 2024, they've already raised millions of dollars. Safe and Smart Florida is the PAC for legalizing it. And Ron DeSantis doesn't like legalizing it because it's not the political optics that he wants. Now, in his hemp letter, he says we need regulation. Encourage the legislature to consider the following: quality control, labeling, marketing, and packaging, and retail sales. So he wants a bill, but not yet. Probably because he wants these small businesses lobbying in support of his Freedom Fund against Safe and Smart Florida's legalization efforts, which will be voted on here in about 5 months. Anyway, why would he be so against the cannabis legalization and Safe and Smart Florida? So much so against it that he would veto a bill even though he wants hemp regulated. Well, this is John Morgan. And Morgan & Morgan is the largest personal injury firm in the world, or in the country at least. And he's been at it since 1988. Do you think this John Morgan, who is a huge landowner in Florida, is a Democrat or is he a Republican? Well, let's go to his Wikipedia page. Godfather of Florida's medical marijuana amendment and a Democratic fundraiser. So is that what DeSantis is doing? He's just politicized the whole thing of legalization. He doesn't like it because he doesn't like how it smells. He says all sorts of really stupid things about how cannabis will be brought to schools, which is pretty hilarious. This is out of Florida politics. He says that you're going to see people bringing 20 joints to an elementary school. Remember, he vetoed the hemp ban. So they could have gotten those joints, called them THCA pre-rolls, from a gas station and brought them to school. So he's blaming something that doesn't exist, which is also something that he contributed to. It's hilarious. And he's been fighting against it for a while. If you've been watching the podcast on the show, Florida does come up from time to time. Most recently, the Supreme Court in Florida threw out a challenge from his administration to try to get the ballot initiative knocked off for being confusing or for violating the single subject rule. That didn't happen, and so now the people of Florida get to vote on possession of up to 3 ounces or 5 grams of concentrate becoming legal in the state of Florida. And here's what he really hates. Just being down here in Tampa, if the marijuana passes, this will smell like marijuana, like when you go outside. it will be because it's written so broadly. How could the court language like that on the ballot? I will never understand. You read the language, it does not do justice. Yeah. The court ruled against him, though, on that. But he's against the smell of marijuana, which, if you have a THCA hemp pre-roll or a joint that you've gotten from True Leaf, they smell the same. They look the same. They are the same. And if you light them on fire, evidently DeSantis is fine calling it hemp. But if you call it marijuana, and John Morgan has supported you on legalizing it because he's a Democratic fundraiser, he's going to politicize it. Okay. Will this be something that happens in other states? Will they go the way of Florida and start vetoing hemp bans to try to suppress legalization? Probably not. And so this came out on June 11th, and this is the markup. So this is the appropriations. You remember from civics that the Congress has the purse. They get to set how much money is going to be in the budget. The administration, the executive branch, sets their budget, but it doesn't always match up. And so you can see here, there's the summary that they have on this that was released for this hearing. And see this request below the fiscal year 2024 enacted level and almost $2.7 billion or 10% lower than the president's budget request. How conservative of them. They cut 10% of the fat. On this page, this is just like the summary of what they are requesting to go into the budget for next year for the Agricultural, Rural Development, Food and Drug Administration and related agencies Appropriations Act. If we look for it, hemp does not appear. SNAP is really what it's all about. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, it's the tail that wags the dog in the USDA or the Farm Bill's negotiations because that's the largest slice of the money pie that is there. Hemp is very small. $23.16 billion in mandatory funding for SNAP, an increase of $777.6 million due to inflation. All these millions of dollars. And there's another one right there. $31.7 billion for child nutrition programs, including mandatory funding for school lunch programs, breakfast programs. That $31 billion is much larger than the hemp industry in Florida. But what else came with this? Here is the actual markup. So there's the mark summary that we just did. That's the 4 pages. And here is the actual markup. It's 126 pages. Hemp appears 9 times. Now, they have created the same language that was introduced into the Farm Bill. Amending hemp, they touch the definition. They add exclusions to the definition. And so they ban seeds. They are also going to ban any hemp-derived cannabinoids. And not only that, they are now onto you when it comes to THCA. That hemp ban from Ron DeSantis earlier this month may not catch on as a method to use hemp versus marijuana as a cudgel to make it political, where the Republicans want hemp, the Democrats want legal marijuana, because the Republicans in Congress also want to ban hemp. It appears that will happen this year because there's something that the government has to do, fund itself. You may not remember, but the last time the Farm Bill was passed, it was passed along these lines. You had a bill, the omnibus bill, that was huge, and you had to fund the government. So the government got shut down in 2018, Christmas, and so Donald Trump made a deal with Congress to open it back up, which included the Farm Bill that had that new definition of hemp, which was all supposed to be about industry and CBD, and we saw how that went. This is a new format for the educational aspects of it. Let me know what you thought about it. If you find this type of stuff good, go ahead, smash likes, click subscribe, ask me questions in the comments. Tune in for the next one, especially our lives on Sunday.